Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope you are doing well. This is Pakistan International School Taif virtual learning system for the session 2020 and this is biology class for grade first year. So dear students, as you know that we have started chapter number 4 in which we are going to discuss and we have discussed some introduction about pigments as well as we have seen some introduction of chlorophyll and the role of light in photosynthesis, and this is from chapter number 4, that is bioenergetics. Today we will see some more detail about pigments because pigments play a vital role, great role in photosynthesis, as well as we will see role of carbon dioxide and water in photosynthesis, and we will see introduction to photosynthesis. So let's get started. Dear students, you can see here the arrangement of pigments. Before we have seen about very important pigments and that is chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B and some carotenoids. So today we will see how these pigments are arranged in photosystems and what is photosystem actually. So actually the light which is absorbed during photosynthesis, that is absorbed by these pigments, and we know that different pigments absorb different wavelengths and different lights, and like they visible light which we see, that is white light, that split into 7 colors, and those 7 colors are absorbed somehow, some are absorbed in less extent and some absorbed in high extent according to the wavelength in these pigments. So these photosynthetic pigments are arranged in the form of clusters in the thylakoid membranes, and these clusters are named as photosystems. So they are arranged in two photosystems, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. Inside they are we take one photosystem, so we can say that all the pigments which are on the periphery, which are surrounded externally, or they form the antenna of that photosystem, like antenna which catches the signals like we use in radio, television, etc. So these pigments also absorb different wavelengths of light, and then in the center there is a reaction center. Reaction center means in which the main acceptors, electron acceptors, as well as the central chlorophyll is present. So from antenna photosystems, in photosystem, different pigments or different pigment molecules, they capture the sunlight, absorb different wavelengths and give this energy to inside, and it just moves towards the reaction center. So chlorophyll A generally has an optimal absorption wavelength of 660 nanometer. It associates with different proteins in each type of photosystems to slightly shift its optimal wavelength to 680. So and that photosystem just produce two distinct types of photosystems, like with 1 and photosystem 2. So the reaction center in photosystem 1 is chlorophyll A, which absorbs maximum 700 nanometer wavelength. That's why this is called photosystem 700 or P700. The chlorophyll A in the reaction photosystem 2 that absorb the wavelength maximum, that is 680 nanometer, and that is called P680. So these photosystems are named as photosystem 1 and 2 according to that year when they were discovered, but not according to their arrangement. So if we see in this diagram, you can see here photosystems are arranged like this in thylakoid membrane, and you can see this is the first is photosystem 2 and the second one is photosystem 1. This is photosystem 2, but light, it captures the light energy and electrons emit from it and moves towards electron acceptors or electron transport chain, and then moves toward PS1. But PS1, it just discovered at first, that's why it is PS1, like photosystem 1, and PS2 that yes, that discovered at the second, that's why it is photosystem, named as photosystem 2. So photosystem 2, it absorbs the wavelength 680, and photosystem 1 absorbs the wavelength of 700. So when what happened, this chlorophyll A absorbs light to a narrow wavelength. So other pigments with a very narrow wavelength, so other pigments absorb different wavelengths of light, and together they give energy to that chlorophyll A, from which the electron get excited and jump to and leave its place and jump to the primary electron acceptor. So this chlorophyll, in this way, the chlorophyll, which was before in reduced form, by taking light energy, it just changed into oxidized form because electron is removed from it. And the electron transport system plays a very important role in generation of ATP by the conversion of this light energy into chemical energy. So we can see here, like through passing this electron transport chain, here the ATP is formed, and this ATP or this energy is utilized here in other electron transport chain, or then we that use that in the dark reaction. So if we see the organization of photosystem, so you can see here one is a reaction center and the other is antenna. So if you see the transmembrane protein complex, the reaction center is complex. The energy from antenna complex is transferred to chlorophyll A. So you can see this is embedded in lipid bilayer of thylakoid membrane, and light is just absorbing by these antenna molecules of the pigments, and then they give energy to reaction. Chlorophyll A here, that is a reaction center chlorophyll, and then electron is passed on or jumped or leave its place, and here the electron acceptor is residing, which accept this electron. So when the electron is leaving this place, like it jumped from here, so there is empty place for that electron. So that is filled with the help of this electron donor, which is given by the water molecule, which is split by the help of sunlight. So let's talk about the role of water in photosynthesis. Before that, we are going to discuss the role of carbon dioxide. Role of carbon dioxide, we know that this is the carbon source for synthesis of organic compound, that is carbohydrate. So autotrophs, all the autotrophs, or those are called the plants, they use inorganic, because carbon dioxide is present in inorganic form, and that is changed into organic form of like compound glucose. So carbon dioxide is utilized in dark or light reaction, that is definitely used in a light independent reaction, that is called Calvin cycle. We will see in detail in the next lectures. So the air which is having almost 0.3 to 0.4% carbon dioxide, we know that that is taken in by the plants, which is dissolved in the water, as well as that is taken by stomata in the plants. So that is then changed into glucose, which is the reduced form of carbon dioxide. Okay, if we talk about the role of water in photosynthesis, so this is very, very important that we have seen in this diagram, sorry, in this one. You can see here when this happened, like PS2 absorbs a sunlight and electron is emitted, like here electron is emitted from chlorophyll, and it moves towards the electron transportation. Here there is a hole, like hole means empty space for accepting the electrons. So water also split into oxygen and hydrogen or proton. So what happened, this proton, and it also leaves one electron. So this electron and proton is having the great role, that which is this electron, which is released by the breaking down of water, that is accepted by the electron by the chlorophyll. So you can see here, this electron is moving towards the whole of the chlorophyll, where there is no electron. So it means it fulfills the place of chlorophyll to get again the same energy, and this electron will again emit from it. So this proton is very important because it will help in this electron transport chain, as well as for the synthesis of ATP and NADPH2. So this electron move outward and inward, and then it is changed into ATP. We will see next, like in chemiosmosis. And then this proton is also helped here just to reduce NADP plus H into NADPH form, which is used in dark reaction. So here now we know that role of water, but that is very, very important, that whether water or oxygen from water or oxygen from carbon dioxide is emitted as molecular oxygen, or which the plants like exhale and we inhale. So here if we see, it's not it's present here in this diagram, that we can see that oxygen is removed while the water is split down. So that is in the light reaction. So Cornelius Van Neel, 1897 to 1985 is time periods. It belongs to Stanford University. So he used radioactive labeled oxygen in water to just experimentally prove whether the oxygen which is present in the water, that is used for releasing molecular oxygen, or this oxygen is used for the production of carbohydrate like glucose. So he just gave the hypothesis, and he did experiment on bacteria, as well as some more scientists have just experimentally proved that when they put oxygen, that is isotopic oxygen 18. You know that oxygen is having 16 its molecular weight. So here oxygen 18 is a radioactive element of oxygen is utilized. So they are used in algal solution, like where the algae was present. So when algae released or exhaled oxygen, they collected that oxygen, and then they just observed that oxygen 18 was present in that oxygen. It means oxygen which is released here, that comes from the water which is utilized for photosynthesis, and the carbon dioxide is utilized to form carbohydrate. The same experiment is done by giving carbon dioxide, which is labeled, in which the oxygen was labeled 18 but water was not labeled. So then they they attained the result that carbon dioxide is reduced to carbohydrates and water is oxidized into oxygen. So here you can see Wayne Neal's experiment, that water is oxidized into oxygen and carbon dioxide reduced into carbohydrate, and this oxygen is from carbon dioxide, not from water. And this oxygen which is released in molecular form, that is derived from water, not from carbon dioxide. So now it is proved that by the experiments that the carbon dioxide and water is used with the help of light and chlorophyll to form to do photosynthesis, and the oxygen is released that comes from water. And if we radioactively labeled oxygen is used for carbon dioxide, so that is reduced into this glucose as well as into the water, not this oxygen. So let's talk about a little about overall mechanism of photosynthesis. That you can see there are two reactions going on, that is light dependent and light independent reactions, that is called light reaction or dark reaction. So in that, what happened, you can see through this diagram overview of photosynthesis, that we are having two photosystems, which photosystem 2 just accepts and absorbs the light, and then electrons are emitted. They pass down through electron transport chain and reaches to photosystem 1. There is another electron transport chain which form NADPH and ATP. This ATP and NADPH, because that is formed in daylight, that's why they are used in the Calvin cycle, which is also done in the daylight, because photosynthesis is done in the daylight. So but this is light independent reaction, that's why it is called dark reaction or Calvin cycle. And this is done in stroma of the chloroplast, and light reaction is done in the membrane of thylakoid and a stroma of the thylakoid, we can say. So the ATP and NADPH, which is in the reduced form, then they are oxidized, and then they again change into NADP and ADP plus P, like the oxidized form of this energy, and then these are again used to form the same energy component which are used in the Calvin cycle. So water is split here in the light reaction, and just oxygen is removed out as output. We know that in photosynthesis oxygen is removed, and water and this hydrogen is used to reduce this NADPH. And in Calvin cycle, the carbon dioxide, which is very, very important reactant in photosynthesis, that is used in Calvin cycle or dark reaction, which is done in the stroma. And this dark carbon dioxide, then it is changing into a 3-PGA, that is the first component which is formed here, and then it is changed into that we say G3P, and this G3P later on just changes into a sugar, as well as like this sugar is used for cellular respiration, for cellulose, starch, and other organic compounds it is used for. So the production of ATP during light reaction, this process that is called photophosphorylation, and the mechanism involved in photophosphorylation that is called chemiosmosis. We will discuss in detail in the next lectures. So photophosphorylation is done or like in two reactions. Okay, so in two reactions, like we know that from here, when in photosystems, there are two types of reactions going on. One is called cyclic photophosphorylation, and other is non-cyclic photophosphorylation. That is also having some differences, why it is called cyclic and why it is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. We will see in the next lectures. So in that, our final product is sugar, and that is oxygen, and water is also formed during this reaction. So inshallah, in the next lecture, we will see light dependent reaction or light reaction, and in that we will see non-cyclic photophosphorylation and photophosphorylation, and then we'll see inshallah dark reaction as well. So dear students, that's it for today. Inshallah, we will see you in the next lecture. Wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.